Hey everybody, it's Romania Black. We are on episode 17? Yeah, 17 of My Hero Academia. And it's pretty crazy, right? This season has been building up, and we've started to get more plot with Endeavor and Hawks, and we've got Todoroki and Bakugo and Deku all involved in Endeavor's agency, and it's been really interesting, but I've really been excited for the latter half of this season. As somebody that's read the manga, there's so much stuff that I've been anticipating them getting into, and with the preview for this week, it looks like we're finally getting into it. So I'm really excited. I do have a new computer, so as I'm recording, I'm actually looking up at my computer screen now instead of down at my laptop, so pretty exciting. But there's gonna be a little bit of changes with that, but I've been really looking forward to this episode for all week, because I'm not going to spoil anything, but this is probably one of my favorite storylines in the series. So we'll see what all it delves into. As usual, I'll be doing a spoiler-free discussion after the episode is over, and then I'll be going back through the manga and then coming back and doing a spoiler discussion afterwards too, for those of you that have read the manga or don't care to be spoiled. So with that being said, I've been gone all day away from my computer, and I just came back and got ready, and so I'm excited to dive in. But let's do this. Let us watch episode 17, the Hellish Todoroki family. Oh, I can't imagine what's gonna happen. So with that being said, we are gonna start this reaction here in 3, 2, 1, and let me get on my screen here. Let's go. Oh, buddy. Oh, okay. This series, this part of this My Hero Academia series is some of my favorite in the manga, because we're getting into a lot with Endeavor's character, and this episode's great, but what I love most about it is Endeavor is such a flawed character. And from the start, in season 1 and season 2, he is portrayed as an asshole. He's an abusive father. He's very conceited. He's all about Shoto just becoming the strongest so he can surpass All Might. And you can see how Endeavor could easily have been a character that we as the audience just don't care for and we don't like. And he's the bad father figure, right? And he could so easily be that. And I'm rewatching the episode here without the sound to go through it. But what I love that Horikoshi has done with Endeavor's character is he's made him the #1 hero, which you should resent him, right? You should hate him because he's done all these horrible things to Shoto and his mom and his family. But then in this little arc, we get to see Bakugo and Deku and Shoto work with Endeavor and see that Endeavor's not a monster. He's not an evil person. He's a hero. He wants to save people. He's smart. He's competent. But he's not perfect. He's done some very bad things. And there are things that potentially can't be forgiven. There's things that he's done in his past that are perhaps unforgivable. I mean, what he's done to Shoto and to Rei. And so it makes it a complicated story when you have a character who is your hero, your #1 hero, and he's so flawed. But it's not that he's an evil person. He's trying to get better. He's trying to atone and to be a better person, but he's also self-aware of what's happened. And in the first part of this episode was all establishing the fact of what's going on in Endeavor's thought process. And the reality is Endeavor's thinking of a lot of things, and a lot of things he's thinking about have to do with his family and how bad he feels about what has happened and what he's done. And so he's self-aware, and he's trying to do justice by them the best way that he can. But the problem is, this goes back to the dream that he's having. He's like, I have this dream of my family being happy and being able to be together and laughing and having this wonderful time, but I'm not there. And it's like Endeavor is like, I'm the problem with my family. The whole thing that's tearing the family apart is me. And for you to be self-aware of that and to know that you're the problem and deal with that, that's a pretty intense thing, right? And so when he says he has the dream, he keeps having it. He's like, I know my family can be happy, but not with me. And I think that that's reiterated when we get the scene with Rei later on, where she's like, I can't wait to move back in, Shoto, with you and Fumi and Natsu. She doesn't mention Endeavor. And it's like, no, she doesn't mention him either. She's like, she's not ready to forgive him. It's clear, like, in that thing, she's not ready to forgive him. And I don't blame her, because he abused her, right? Like, mentally and physically abused her. And so, of course, she's not ready to go back to him. And Endeavor's realizing that, yeah, I can't just fix things. You can't just repair something like that. Even though he tries to in several instances in this episode and they fail, he's trying to do something. So it's very complicated. It's a complicated emotion to feel for Endeavor, because on the one hand, I think a lot of his actions, you can't really redeem yourself from them. But then on the other hand, I do kind of feel for him, because I'm like, he's trying to become better. He's not doubling down on being a terrible person. He's trying to fix himself. And no one around him is trying to fix him. That's another important thing. No one is trying to fix Endeavor. I think the big thing is nobody knows. Like, Bakugo and Deku are like the only outsiders that really know what's going on with the Todoroki family. Nobody else really is on the inside, because we established back at the end of season 4 that Endeavor doesn't do interviews. He's like Bakugo. He doesn't do interviews. He's a very private person. He doesn't share his family stuff with the media. And so, yeah, which is probably a good thing, because if the media knew that he was an abusive father and was hurting his family, then that would probably affect his image as the #1 hero. So really, Bakugo and Deku are the only ones that know about it, and it is so awkward in this episode where they're both sitting there like, If you've ever had that experience where I've not been in the situation of Bakugo and Deku where I've been in a family's house and something this traumatic gets brought up, but I have been at friends' houses before, and the friends and their parents get into an argument, and you're just kind of sitting there eating your food like, I'm not really part of this, but y'all are arguing, and so I'm just going to kind of sit here and be awkward. Like, that's exactly what it was like for them. And you're just like sitting there twiddling your thumbs like, oh, this is really uncomfortable. And so, yeah, I give Horikoshi a lot of props this episode for tackling this very, very complicated topic of what do you do? And the fact that it's framed with a hero in mind. The fact that we're in a hero society, it's framed into this kind of comic book superhero framework, and tackling something very real like this subject matter is, I give Horikoshi props for going there, because I mean, you didn't have to. He didn't have to make Endeavor a complex character. He didn't have to make Endeavor and Shoto's whole story this big melodrama. When people do the meme Keeping Up with the Todorokis, this episode and this storyline is why. This is really why. The family drama of Keeping Up with the Todorokis, that this is the foundation of it. But getting back to the episode, I really like the Endeavor. His whole thing is like, I need you guys to catch a villain before me. And he's proving that it's not easy. They've been at it for like a week and nothing's changed. Endeavor's still way faster than them. But I like that Burnin comes in and she tries to motivate him. She's like, hey guys. And then she realizes like how scuffed up they are, how they're fiery their eyes are. And she's like, oh, I don't need to motivate you guys. You got this covered. But let it be known, Bakugo is not a morning person. I love people on Twitter get so obsessed with Bakugo and his forehead, put his hair pushed back, and see like his mask up where you can see his forehead. Like, people on Twitter are pretty obsessed with that. But I love that Bakugo is just not a morning person, let it be known. But yeah, so I also love Fuyumi an awful lot. I absolutely love Fuyumi. I'm a teacher, so of course I can relate to Fuyumi being a teacher herself, being an elementary school teacher. I can relate to that. But I love that Fuyumi's whole thing is she wants them to be a family. She wants there to be some sort of normalcy, some semblance of a traditional family structure. And so she makes the dinner. She invites the friends over. Like what you would typically do in an anime when the friends come over. It's like, I'm going to make dinner. It's going to be great. Nothing's going to be awkward. And then Natsu is not playing the game. He's like, no. Natsu, being the middle child, is like, no, I'm not playing this game. No, we're not doing this. And it's very clear that Natsu has been affected just as much as Shoto by what's happened. And Fuyumi's trying to put on the good face, being the elder sister. She's trying to put on the good face and be normal as she can be, and it's just not working out. And I do appreciate that Endeavor gives her thanks. Endeavor's like, you're trying so hard. Because at first when she's on the phone with him, you can tell Endeavor does not want to go over there. He does not want to bring Deku's friends. He's like, no, I know how Natsu feels about me right now. This isn't going to end well. You can just tell Endeavor's like, I don't like this idea. But then you see, I love the flashback. The flashback where Endeavor has the goatee, like the beard of hair. It's like, does it light on fire too? that he has the fiery beard, but Ray's telling him about the letters that were written, that I'm assuming all that flashback happened before the Nomu battle in season 4. And so Endeavor flashing back to that and then seeing just how hard Fumi has worked to try to patch things up between all of them. He's like, well, I don't want to shoot her down because she's tried really hard and she's offered to make food and be, host this whole thing. He's like, so I don't want to make her feel sad. So he allows it, and I'm glad that he gives her thanks. He's like, Fumi, you don't know how much you've done for me. Because she's really been his supporter. She's not trying to fix him by any means, but she is supporting him and is trying. And I like that she tells Shoto, she's like, it's not that I don't know what my dad's done, and I'm also not okay with it, like with Natsu. But she's like, but I want us to be a family. And so she's like, he's trying. And so she recognizes that he's trying and is trying to just build off of that. Like, let's try things. And then Natsu and Shoto are both like, not quite feeling it. And I didn't put 2 and 2 together in the flashback when Shoto has the bandage where the scar is, that, yeah, you just see Ray's eye. The fact that Endeavor sees all of this and he's been thinking about all of this blows my mind sometimes, because it's like, this has been his thought process all the time. Like, while he's saving people, while he's doing this is what he's thinking about. And it's really, really interesting. And to know that he looks back on the events from season 2 and realizes and is self-aware of how he was, it's like that kind of reflection is really unique for a character in his situation in an anime. Because I could instantly see them just doubling down on the bad father routine. But Horikoshi is trying to do something with that. And I really, really like it and appreciate it. Also, Fuyumi's fashion, I totally am on board with. But, yeah. So, him deciding, like, what are you going to be a symbol of, and what are you fighting for? And it's fighting for the next generation and his son. And I don't think Endeavor's a symbol of peace. I talked about in the episode, if anything, he's a symbol of hope, perhaps. And I think that fits his motif of being this father who's done horrible things, but is trying to make amends and make better. Like, that symbol of hope. Like, there's hope for him in the future with his family, even if he's not present, even if he can't be around them, right? So, the Endeavor Agency raking in the dough because they just have living quarters for all the sidekicks and everything. It's like a mansion. I wonder if any of them have families and they just bring their families along, like a military base, or what they do. I find that interesting. And then, of course, Bakugo not being the morning person that he is. But we need to talk about Bakugo, okay? So, I'm not going to bring a whole lot up because I don't think this really applies to spoilers, honestly. I don't think this has anything to do with spoilers. I've got spoilers to talk about, but this isn't spoilery. But when they go to Shoto's house, Endeavor's like, they're going now. And they're like, okay. And they think it's a mission, and it turns out to be his house. And then Shoto's like, oh yeah, my sister wants us to eat here. And Endeavor doesn't look happy about any of this. And Deku's like, oh my god, I'm at a friend's house. I felt really bad for Deku there, because Deku's like, I've never been invited to a friend's house. I'm like, oh, because, Bakugo would never invite Deku to his house. And we're going to talk about Bakugo. But Bakugo would never invite Deku over. And Deku's not been to Ochako or Ida or anybody else's house. So it's kind of sad that this is the first friend's house Deku's been to is Shoto's. That's great, but that's so weird. So yeah, let's talk about Bakugo. Bakugo throughout this entire episode and this entire exchange is so fascinating. For a number of reasons. And Horikoshi never comes outright and says why Bakugo is so uncomfortable, but there's a lot of things that we, the audience, can infer about this situation. And I'm going to base a lot of this on what we saw back in season 3 when we went to Bakugo's home, when All Might and Aizawa went to Bakugo's parents to tell him about the dorms. And we got to meet. I think that Horikoshi very purposefully made Bakugo one of the families that we met. Because we met Jiro's family and we met Bakugo's family, and they were the only 2 examples that we got before we went back to Deku and Inko. So I think one of the big reasons we saw Bakugo's family in that situation is to see what his home life is like. And here's the thing. There's a lot of comparisons that are often made between Endeavor and Bakugo because they both have similar personalities. But here's the thing, y'all. Of all the families in Class 1A that we've seen so far, Bakugo's family is like the most well-off, normal family of them all. He has 2 very supportive, very loving parents who are both in a very healthy relationship, it looks like. I mean, Bakugo takes after his mom for having this fiery personality, but his dad is a really kind, calm, caring person. His mom, even though she's fiery and does like a lot of tough love, she is very supportive of him and very understanding of him. If you look at their house in season 3, it's a nice house. Like, they are very well off and clearly are upper class. Like, even if it's upper middle class, they're clearly upper middle class, have money, have stability and security. They have stability. That's the thing. And Bakugo's mother says during Taizawa and All Might, she's like, you know, people praise my brother and my son and basically spoiled him. They're like, Bakugo's basically been spoiled his whole life because he has a great quirk. And so, you know, we just have kind of had to roll with it because what can we do? Society is praising him. We're not going to stop it, but what can we do? She's like, so it's nice that he gets knocked down a peg. But Bakugo has had a very comfortable home life, right? It doesn't seem like his parents have any drama. They seem to get along great. Bakugo's an only child, so he doesn't have any siblings to have drama with. His home life is very, very normal and very stable. And so Bakugo has overheard, we know going into this, that he's overheard about the drama with Shoto's family. So clearly Bakugo is very uncomfortable being in a situation with a family situation very unlike his own, where he's like, I don't want to be a part of this drama. That's not me. Bakugo is not a drama person. He's not a gossip person. He's not a drama person. And you can tell throughout this whole episode how uncomfortable he is being stuck in the middle of this, because this will require Bakugo to admit that he has feelings, right? Because of course Deku's empathetic, and of course Deku is instantly the one that offers Shoto advice, because that's just Deku. Deku wears his heart on his sleeve. He's very bleeding heart. He's very compassionate. And, you know, he understands that there can be, you know, family business. Like, him and his mom have cried and flooded the neighbors', you know, rooms over and over again. But with Bakugo hasn't really experienced that drama with his family that we know of. And so this whole situation is very uncomfortable for him. He's like, I don't want to be a part of this. Nope. I don't like eavesdropping. I don't like being a part of this family drama. Like, he's like, you know, family get-togethers, and when you invite guests over, it's supposed to be nice, and this is not it. And so you can see just how uncomfortable Bakugo is, and how he knows Bakugo is perceptive and he's smart, and he knows that this is a bad situation because of what he's overheard. So, you know, going into this, that Bakugo is ready for the bomb to explode. He's like, I deal with explosives. My quirk's an explosion. I know when a bomb is about to go off, and it's gonna be in this house with us here. And you just, like, how angry he is. He's like, why? Why are we here? It's wonderful. Like, he's just so ticked off. And of course, the only time he's not ticked off is when he has Fuyumi's the Mapu Tofu. So, oh my gosh. But yeah, and then Deku of course can't resist, right? He can't resist talking to Shoto and then saying, you know, I think you're getting ready to forgive him because you're a kind person. He's like, you know, you're nice. And even if Natsu isn't, you can forgive him, you know. And so, but yeah, there's so much set up in this, and there's more I want to say after the next episode is over, but we've got to wait till the next episode. But yeah, this just, all of this, and then Bakugo being like, quit like, we couldn't help eavesdropping, quit talking so loud. It's like, and then we get at the very end, Toya, the picture of Toya, the brother with white hair. And then Endeavor saying, I'm sorry, Toya. So yeah. Yep. There's lots of other things I want to talk about, but they are spoilers. And so I'm not going to say anything more. But I hope y'all enjoyed this reaction. I have more spoilers I want to talk about in the spoiler corner. But for now, I hope y'all have a wonderful week. Please feel free to comment down below your thoughts about the episode. But in the meantime, I hope y'all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and I'll talk to y'all again real soon. Oh, spoilers! Oh my gosh, it's been so hard this episode to not talk about spoilers. It really, really has, because like I said, this is one of my favorite storylines, mainly for the thing about Endeavor and the thing about Bakugo, but also because it is setting up so much stuff. There's so much stuff set up with this. Mainly about Dabi, but we all know. And I'm going to talk about Dabi, or Toya, because the animation here, the animation does an amazing thing, and I was wondering how they were going to handle it, and they did it exactly like they were supposed to, and it's going to confuse a lot of anime-only people, because they're going to be like, well, wait a minute, Toya has red hair. Isn't that Toya with red hair in the flashback? But he has white hair here, huh? I'm just waiting for the anime only people reacting to be like, why is there an animation error? It's not an animation error. It's wonderful. I was wondering how the animation was going to do it, and it's great. This episode was just chapter 249. One chapter. Una mas. A lot of it was recap. And a lot of it was recapping the last episode before Selkie, which I get they had to go back and remind us, hey, before Chaco and the Beach episode, here's what happened. And then a lot of it was touching base on Endeavor and the events of Season 1 and Season 2, which I get why they did that, because we are building up Endeavor's character for the next episode, The Unforgiven, when we talk about Endeavor and his actions and whether or not Shoto and Natsu forgive him for them. So I get why they did it. And they ended it at a good spot, I suppose. I'm just amazed that we're doing 2 episodes on this, but then again, we got to build an emotional moment here, so sure, we can do that. And honestly, it is an important moment with Dabi, because we'll have a lot of Dabi in the arcs to come, a lot with Dabi, and so it is important that we take our time with these episodes, because there's a lot with Toya that needs to be established later on. So I get why they did that. It's still making me be like, okay, you've got 7 episodes to deal with My Villain Academia. Hope you can handle all that. So, lots to cover. But, like I said, the whole thing with Bakugo and him, like, eavesdropping and all of them. And, of course, Deku is, like, comes in and asks if he's ready to forgive him. And Shoto's like, and with Natsu, we get ending revealed at the end there, his little part to play in it coming. I like that. I hope in the next episode that we get Bakugo asking Fuyumi for the Mapu tofu recipe. I hope that we get that, because he really likes her cooking. He just doesn't want to admit it. It's wonderful. I love it. That little scene where we get the flashback of Fuyumi and Endeavor, I don't think that was in the manga. It wasn't in chapter 249. So I like that they had that little scene to kind of be a catch-up of him catching up on what's been happening. I thought that was really interesting. The only thing they don't show us really in the episode with the only thing they don't show us in the episode is when Rei poured the water on him. They showed us the teapot falling over, but what we don't see, and I put an image of it up here, is that she tried to cover up Shoto's face and use her ice powers to cool him off, which is really sad. She tried to use her quirk to cool him, because you can see the ice crystals on her, like to make it stop, and she instantly realizes what she's done, and it's so sad. It's so heartbreaking, and just I hate it. I hate it so much. That's the thing. You can't forgive Endeavor for what he's done, but it's hard not to empathize with him for trying to move forward and to do something, and it's like and then of course I love this panel, because Bakugo is like, you're not supposed to expose your dirty laundry to guests. He's like, I don't know how to deal with this family drama, because again, it's showing that Bakugo cares. And Bakugo has been a person from episode 1 of season 1 that's like, I don't care about anybody. I'm just here to be the #1 hero. But Bakugo does care. And we're going to find out as the series goes on that in Bakugo's own little twisted way, he does care about Deku. He does care about his classmates. He just doesn't want to admit it. And it's like him having to listen to this drama is him saying, I've got to admit that I'm invested and care about Shoto, and I just got done telling his sister that we're not friends. So, but I love that panel of Deku where it shows Horikoshi, the one on the right is him being like, we're not supposed to eavesdrop, sorry. And then the next panel is him getting some resolve and being like, about to say what he's going to say. And I love that little subtle eyebrow shift that Horikoshi does. It's so good. I absolutely love it. And then that leads to this page where he talks about, I think you're readying yourself to forgive him. And they didn't include this in the episode, but Bakugo adds, he's like, just say I'll never forgive him if you really hate the guy. And they gave that line to Deku, which I'm kind of like, I wish they'd left it with Bakugo, because again, it's establishing that Bakugo is like frustrated, but he's like, just don't forgive him if you don't like him. And then Deku says, well, it's because you're so caring yourself. It's like you're waiting. At least that's how it seems. And then we get to see that Natsu... and I want you to notice in that panel there, Bakugo sees Natsu's expression. That's going to come back in the next episode. And then, I didn't realize it in the manga until I reread it, but Endeavor did hear Shoto through the walls. It's just really cool to see it visually in the anime, to see it. And then, of course, we go to Toya. I love in the Crunchyroll comments, everyone's like, people that don't realize that Dobby is Toya are charity cases. And I'm like, but here's the thing. Here's the thing. And I'm going to talk about later when we actually finally do get the Dobby reveal. It's so glorious. But when we do get the Dobby reveal, the thing about the whole Toya mystery is we've known as the audience since season 3, we've all known that Toya and Dobby are the same person. We know. We as the audience know. And Horikoshi knows that we know, right? I mean, if you couldn't tell, as soon as the ED got that shot of Dobby turning around and facing the camera, and all I could think about, I'm like, well, it's the same face as Toya. He's just got black hair. But here's the thing. This is the funny part, and I wondered how the animation studio would do it. In the flashback, they show him with red hair, and then in the picture, he has white hair. And so if you've not read the manga, then what happens is that Dobby gets more stressed, and his quirk starts to hurt him more and more. And he kind of has the Marie Antoinette syndrome where his hair just turns white. That his hair over time starts to turn white and fade. And Dobby's story is actually really sad when you think about it. Dobby himself is just a god-awful character. He's one of the characters I love to hate because I'm like, Dobby, you're such a turd, but I love you. But Endeavor had a lot of trauma with losing Dobby, with losing Toya, and he thought that he was responsible for killing him. And so Natsu thinks that Endeavor's responsible for killing him. And we'll hopefully find that out next episode when Fuyumi's recounting the story. But Endeavor blames himself for a lot of things. And Toya is kind of the catalyst for a lot of problems with the Todoroki family. And so it's convenient because Dobby's like a trash fire. So, you know. But I find it curious that they made the choice to have him with the red hair in the flashback again and to show him with the white hair, and then we find out that Dobby's been dyeing his hair this whole time, so you know. But yeah, there's just so much under the surface, and the fact that no one else other than Bakugo and Deku know about the Todoroki family is really significant, because that would impact Endeavor's status as the #1 hero, and then later on after the war arc we get all this. So at first I wasn't sure how I felt watching this episode. I'm like, as we were about halfway through, I'm like, man, they're gonna make this 2 episodes, aren't they? But I'm glad that they are now, because we'll round out the Todoroki story probably next episode for now, and then we're gonna get stuff with My Villain Academia and Dobby and everything, and then it's all gonna come full circle later on when we have the thing with Dobby and Hawks. It's all connected. Dobby, I mean, you have Endeavor and Shoto and Toya and the Todoroki family, but then you add Hawks into the mix, and Hawks ending up fighting Dobby, who's the son of his hero that he's admired. You have that aspect of it. Then you have Dobby revealing to his father and causing Endeavor traumatic, like, horrible trauma by saying, hey, your son didn't die. It's me, your boy. It's like, I live for the Todoroki drama. Keeping Up with the Todorokis is my jam. I love the storyline because there's not really much Horikoshi does with Inko and Deku as main characters. Inko's a saint. And Dad Might is real. So it's like, oh, everything's so wholesome. And Bakugo's family, everything's so wholesome. So what family drama can we have? Okay, Todorokis, let's do that. And like Deku said back in season 2, Shoto is basically like a main character of a series. So we get to see from Deku and Bakugo's perspective all this family drama unravel. But I really like how this episode kind of framed Endeavor and letting us see inside his mindset that he is constantly thinking about what he's done and constantly trying to atone, and it's always on his mind. It's not something that he doesn't think about. He's always thinking about it, and I like that we get that, because it makes I don't see Endeavor as a sympathetic character, but I see Endeavor as a character that is respectable in the sense that he's trying to do right and trying to move forward in a proper way. I mean, again, he could be that character that we hate because he doesn't ever change, but he's actually trying to change. And so I think it makes him more complex and interesting. But yeah, so, oh my gosh, guys, I think this may be the most I've talked about in episodes so far. Maybe. But yeah, I'm okay with us going into next episode with ending and the whole thing. I really can't wait. There's so many parts of the next episode that I absolutely love. Chapter 250 is such a good chapter, and Chapter 250 and 251 are such good chapters, and I really can't wait to talk about them. I was hoping we could talk about them this episode, but we did not. So yeah, fun times, good episode. I'm excited. I can't believe we're already going to be on episode 18 next week. Holy cow, like working our way into the last third. But I'm curious to know your thoughts down below. If you have spoilers, please tag them. But yeah, good stuff. I'm pretty excited. So yeah, I'm curious to know your thoughts down below, what you all thought of the episode. There'll be more. I have a lot more spoilers I want to talk about, but it's got to wait till after next episode because I want to see what all they cover. So with that being said, I hope you all enjoyed this reaction. I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and I'll be back next week with episode 18 of My Hero Academia. Bye.